Why does the most expensive player on earth look like he feels nothing, while 80,000 people scream for him to fail? Watch his face, the whistles, the insults raining down from the stands. A nation's hopes balanced on his next touch, and Kylian Mbappé does not flinch. He does not argue, he does not look up. Everyone thinks that's arrogance. Everyone thinks he just doesn't care. They're wrong. What you're watching is a technique that's almost 2,000 years old, a weapon written down by a Roman emperor who never touched a football, and who was warning us all the way back in this. His name was Marcus Aurelius, and if you understand, I'll never watch Mbappé the same way again. This is the football prophecy. Let's start with something uncomfortable. Mbappé is, forget the myth for a second. This is not some monk. His is a man who fought his own club in public, who walked out of Paris in a war of contracts and lawyers, who carries the weight of replacing Messi and Ronaldo at the same time, for a country that will forgive him nothing. The chaos never stops. The transfer sagas, the headlines, the pressure of being the face of an entire generation of French football. So if he's not calm, what is he? He's something much rarer. He's selective. He has decided in advance what he is allowed to see. And that single decision is the whole secret. Because 2,000 years ago, a man wearing a very different kind of crown wrote down the same idea. Marcus Aurelius was the most powerful man in the warned armies, controlled an empire that stretched across 3 continents, and could have anything he wanted with a word. And at night in a war tent on the frozen frontier, he wrote notes to himself, not for the public, not for glory. Lose his mind. We call that book Meditations, and the very first, though not control the world. You control one thing, your own response. Marcus called it the dichotomy of control. Some things are up to you, most things are not. The crowd is not up to you, the critics are not up to you. Whether they love you on Monday and DP to you. The only thing that has ever belonged to you is your intention and your action in the present moment. Now hold that thought, and look at this, a World Cup final. The score is level. The referee points to the spot. 80,000 people, and the future of a nation, are now sitting on the boots of one man. Every camera on the sea waiting for a crack. And Mbappé does not blink. That's not talent. That's not luck. That is Marcus A. He has already deleted the 80,000 people. He has deleted the cameras. He has deleted what happens if he misses. There is nothing left in his head except the ball, the spot, and the corner he chose 3 seconds ago. He shrank the nth thing he controls. That is what it looks like when a man refuses to see. The Romans had a word for the inner fortress of Persos. Marcus wrote that no matter what storm hits the outside walls, there is a citadel inside you that no crowd can ever enter, unless you open the gate yourself. And here is the part almost everyone gets wrong. They think the fortress hasn't. The emperor felt everything. He buried children. He fought endless wars. He was betrayed by men he trusted. He wasn't numb. He was disciplined. He simply refused to hand the keys of his mind to people who wanted him to fail. So when the Parc des Princes turns on Mbappé, when me now whistle him off the pitch, he isn't ignoring the pain. He's doing something far harder. He's feeling it and choosing not to obey it. But let me be honest with you, because this is where it gets heavy. There is a cost to living inside a fortress. Marcus Aurelius did not want to be emperor. He was a philosopher who dreamed of a quiet life with his books. And instead, he was handed the HD told, carry it or Rome falls. He spent most of his reign at war, freezing on the edge of the empire, exhausted, grieving, and still writing to himself, just do the next duty, just the next one. Don't think about the whole weight. Think Mbappé was handed his crown at 19, a World Cup lead drink in half the countries that worshipped him. And from that day, the demand was infinite. Not be great, be the greatest. Carry France, carry the sport. Be Pelé and be perfect and be humble and be ruthless, all at once, forever. That is the weight of the coronet. And most men, craisins of them crack. Golden boys who could not survive their own hype, who read the comments, who let the noise inside the walls, and were never the same again. Mbappé didn't crack. Not because he's colder than them, because he learned the emperor's trick. You cannot carry the whole crown. You can only carry the next hour. The next training session, Marcus had another idea that sounds impossible. Until it Amor Fati, a strange, almost violent phrase. It means to love your fate, not to accept it, not to survive it, to love it. Translate that out of the Latin and into football, and it's terrifying. It means a man who doesn't see a World Cup final as a burden pressing down on him. He sees it as the exact destiny. Pressure isn't the enemy. The pressure is the point. Every insult, every impossible expectation. Every night the whole country needs him to be a god. He doesn't wish it away. He loves that it's his. He learned to love the chaos. Watch him in the biggest moments of his life, and you natural. He doesn't look like a man surviving the storm. He looks like a man who came for the storm, who is somehow more still the louder it gets. That is Amor Fati. That is a person who has stopped fighting his fate and started feeding. But here's the warning. Because Marcus Aurelius wasn't strong, he was warning us about what strength costs. The same fortress that protects you can imprison you. The insults can keep out the people who love you. A man who trains himself to feel nothing from the crowd can slowly train himself to feel nothing at all. Marcus wrote his private notes precisely because he was terrified of that, of the untouchable, of the crown eating the man. So when we look at Mbappe's face and see nothing, is that peace or is that a prison? Is he the master of the fortress, or has the fortress become the only place he's allowed to live? An emperor is never off duty. The crown does not come off at night, and a boy who learned at 19 may find at 30 that he no longer remembers how to let anyone back in. That is the prophecy hidden in the philosophy. Marcus Aurelius didn't just tell us how to win the war outside. He warned us that the harder war is the one inside, the one you fight to worship as a god. And that is what makes Mbappé so fascinating to watch in football. He's the most disciplined. Every time that stadium tries to break him, he answers with the oldest weapon there is. He decides, in real time, what he will allow himself to see. The crowd screams, and he narrows the world to a sin man's a miracle, and he answers with the next hour. The crown gets heavier, and he refuses to carry more than this moment. 2,000 years ago, a dying emperor wrote in the dark that a man is not measured by the empire he commands, but by the mind he refuses to surrender. He was writing to himself, but he could have been War Blue, standing alone on the penalty spot, with a nation holding its breath, feeling every ounce of the weight, and choosing one more time not to look up. Marcus Aurelius warned us about a man like this, and now you've seen him. This has been the football prophecy. If Mbappé is Marcus Aurelius, then who is Achilles? Watch the crown, and don't look away.